Hey everybody, give you a second to join me. I got here when I wanted to, and I've got weird lighting today. So I've got a light like right down on top of me because I'm doing fine tuning some cards today, artwork, cutting out crafts. I love crafts. So I wanted to talk a little bit about aspects, because that is what fascinates me about astrology. One of the things that just fascinates the crap out of me. I get so much out of it. The study of, planetary relationships. There's no end to it. There is no end. When I first started out, I had a very basic understanding of aspects and didn't really come to even understand until I really started to apply astrology how important they really were. Because a lot of times traditionally, we just focus on sign and house, particularly sign. And we don't understand that the geometric relationship between things is everything when it comes to outcomes. So, yeah, our idea and understanding of aspects, not just my idea and understanding, but in general, the modern idea and understanding, it's really evolved really just in the last 40 years, I'd say. So, yeah, I'll be starting my aspects course again with a workbook next year. I'm not doing that this year because it is so involved. And that's something you really have to work up to, because unless you have a really good understanding of signs and houses, aspects aren't going to make as much sense. Because you're getting into the nuances of personality when you're looking at aspects. So unless you have a really good foundation where you understand the basic framework and structure of something, the nuance is going to be lost on you, or you're not going to really get it because you don't have that footing under you. So that's why aspects are something that they're a little bit more advanced, not the most advanced thing, but it's when you start to really understand how the birth chart works and why somebody with a planet in a certain sign, a certain house, can have a very different outcome or very, very different behavior, motivation than somebody else. Aspects. So let's see. We've got some people here. Hey, Mike, I haven't seen you in a while. I was thinking about you the other day. Do you view the rulers in an aspect as super important? They are a derivative factor. You're looking at layers upon layers when you're looking at rulership. Not just what is happening, but how is that causing like a vibration in the larger system of something. So what you're describing when you're talking about rulership or we'll just keep it to that right now, is when you like strike a chord on a stringed instrument, on a guitar, the aspect behavior, or what is more obvious, is that sound that just comes out with the thumb. But that chord vibrates all the way up, or that string vibrates all the way up the neck. And it's the fingering, the like the type of control or where or how that the consequences of the reverberation of the action occur. So that's why you can have, certain rulers are going to rule different things, or you can have a certain aspect that has different rulers and signs involved. And so you can have that initial same pluck um, of the string, but have a different derivative effect. It'll vibrate differently uh, in a different way. So you can have these unimaginable, uh, unimaginably numerous outcomes in astrology. Because when you mix the potentials for planets and signs in houses, I mean, just that gives you a lot of different combinations. And then you mix aspects into it, and then you have different rulerships. And it's no wonder why we're so much the same, but we're so very, very different. So astrology accounts for that. But yes, rulers are important. But you have to understand how dominoes fall in personalities to see. Keebles, how did I learn so much about astrology? Was it just through studying natal charts, or were there some good books you read? I had a teacher. I had a very important teacher who inspired me. And I spent a lot of time just reading and studying and contemplating, really thinking about astrology. Yeah, really sitting with it, because it is one thing to I guess to learn something, and it's another thing to know something. So it's the spaces between actively studying or participating or reading charts. It's the spaces between. It's the periods of rest or of contemplation that I actually learn. So I guess you could look at it like the yin and the yang of life, or the wave going in and out. And then we participate during the day, and then in those times of inactivity or in rest or in recollection, sleep, that's when we actually file it away, and it kind of distills on us. So study, experience, just having a talent for it. This is just something that has always come easy to me in terms of what I'm suited towards. There's a few things that have it come relatively easy in terms of what they require of me. Horses, working with horses, horseback riding, it's always been pretty easy. Writing, crafts, I'm sorry. I am having a hard time with my throat today. It's super, super raw. So I have a wavery voice. Yeah, there's a few things that I have an aptitude for, and I have an interest in, and a passion for, and the opportunity to pursue. And astrology was one of those things where it came together for me. There are other things, definitely, have not come so easy. I've had the desire for, or I've had the aptitude for, but I haven't had the passion. But this is something that I feel like I was called towards. I feel like this is more than a job. It's my contribution. And I always call it a jobby, because even if I didn't do this professionally, I would still be doing it as a hobby. So. Let me look up the way here. Trying to find members. Hey, Mina. Venusian stud by Quintiles. Yeah, by Quintiles are fun. I think, do I have my by Quintile card? No, I think I'm making that one today. Yeah, by Quintiles are good if you can get them, because we already have something in terms of talent, or something to offer that's finished, it's ready to go. And if you struggle with a sense of deserving, or if you feel like you really, really have to work hard, or should work hard for what you want, biquintiles can be a bit mystifying. Sometimes we can push them away, or we don't choose to embody them, or they can come with a bit of a guilt, or we just don't understand it, because it may not fit in with our other paradigms, or ideas of ourselves, where it should be hard or difficult, or there should be like hoops we have to jump through. That doesn't come with biquintiles. So if they're laced into charts that make it easy to accept what is just granted, we could really run with it. But we may not appreciate it as much. So yeah, they're easy, but they can be woven into the chart in ways where they cause other parts of ourself to act out on some complexities. Mike, it sounds like you like are looking for something outside of yourself that's bringing some kind of nerdy regularity. Quintiles and biquintiles to Pluto and Mars. Interesting. And Daisy. Sun conjunct to Jupiter in the 7th house of Pluto conjunct to the ascendant, trine to a Jupiter Sun. So that's interesting. Sun-Jupiter contacts. Those can have a quintile or biquintile effect, because they're kind of part of the silly stream. So we can get a lot of the levity, the grantedness that comes from good Jupiter aspects, because everybody likes us. There's this positivity, or this yeah, like a warmth or a givingness that comes with Sun Jupiter aspects in particular. We can get our way more. Sometimes it might not be good for us with the hard aspects because we can be getting away with things that don't always enhance our character. And you can also get that with quintiles. Biquintiles, not so much. Quintiles are more complex. They aren't always a cakewalk the way the biquintiles are, because they can imply more obsession or more reason for wanting to develop something, because that's the active development of something. Biquintile is like it's already been development of something. So yeah, Sun Jupiter aspects, those are fabulous because they get along together. They're naturally trying to each other. There's no problem when it comes to the relationship that they form between how we see ourselves and how we will show up in a very affirming, yeah, it's an ego affirming way. For better or for worse. Let's see, we had a couple member questions up here. Sarah, how do I interpret an ascendant cusp landing in another person's house in synastry? Is the effect mostly felt by the house person, or does the ascendant person also feel an effect? Overlays are overwhelmingly experienced and felt by the house person. It is the house that makes things extremely personal. The dynamic does flow between both of us. Yes, I do have a mic. Is it working? Is that better? Is it just buried in my boobs? Is it better? Maybe if I hold it up closer to my face. And I completely forgot I was talking about. Let's see. Let me find it again. Overlays. So the house person experiences the planet person in an intensely personal way. It's the ascendant. It's the moment that you emerge that makes the birth chart very, very personal. There would be a lot of people who have planets at the same degree that you do, born on that day. There will be a lot less people that are born at the minute that you're born, and even less that are born in the place where there was a particular rising at the moment of your birth. So the time of birth, the second in which we emerge into this particular biosphere, has so much to do with our particular experience. So it's the house person that overwhelmingly interprets and feels the planet person, reflects that back. So it is a mutual dynamic, but it's very much I'd say the house person that is the the receiver and then the more conscious initiator of the action between the two of us. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Oh, time to heal. You're doing laundry. And are you projecting on me? Time to heal. That you can't hear me. Fuya, hey! What's the negative side of natal moon in the 8th in Pisces? Trine Saturn on the 4th in Scorpio. We should not see it directly positive if it's a trine, right? It's gonna help. Yes, trines do help because it's implying lack of perceived conflict between these two forces. So the need to stay emotionally safe and more broadly safe, or safe in the material world, to create stable, safe structures. The moon is what we really need internally, and Saturn is what will really go out into the world to build in service to that. The moon is like this, the vulnerable emotional self, or the crab, and then Saturn is the kind of shell that we create to house the hermit crab that really describes our internal life. So moon is in Pisces. It's intensely emotional, in giving nature. It will increase the sensitivity of the moon, with it being in a water sign and being in a naturally water house, of multiple layers here of wateriness. Moon is naturally a water process emotional process coming through a very emotional water sign, coming in through a very emotional water house, and then also in a trine to Saturn in a water sign in a water house. So the sensitivity is much better managed, has a easier, you could say less conflict-ridden outcome with a trine. Because what are Moon and Saturn trying to get? What is the need? Safety and security. And they're naturally opposite to each other. They're the natural balance to each other. And that natural balance is going to be more easily achieved with a trine. Because it's like bringing these two, needs that can have this teeter-totter effect, where we have to get it right, into this relationship within us, the individual, is just easier to reconcile. So we do see a very compassionate, intuitive, emotional nature that is likely to lend better results, because the discernment is enhanced with the trine. When we've got a good nest for which things to land in, which we're likely to have with that trine. There's a better preparation. That's what a nest is. Preparation for the relationship or the extra stuff. You know, what are we going to put in our nest? What's to come? So, no, trines aren't always a blessed event. They don't always lead to, like, I want to say like the most ideal outcome, because they don't imply growth. They don't imply growth. They don't imply evolution. It's something we've already got, and we may not even use it. But in a trine like this, where these are forces within us that can struggle to come to some agreement, this is a good trine if you can get it. And even if it isn't something that really pushes you to do hard things, there really isn't a lot that needs to be done with this particular combination. So with Saturn involved, you may be looking for something that needs to be fixed or should be more difficult or that needs to be earned. And no, it may just be that you have some built-in regulation and ability to monitor and reflect on your feelings and your internal needs and what you're going to do in the outside world in terms of family and stability. You're going to have an appropriately, I want to say, safe and intimate experience. Ariana, I was thinking about my video today on Venus semi-square Mars. I was wondering if in a composite chart that would tend towards a more sexy dynamic, or is a sign there's an obstacle? No. Venus Mars stuff in composites and romantic relationships tend to be good unless they are part of a larger complex of conflict. In themselves, they do show a type of challenge or romantic dynamic that does lend itself to keeping interest going, keeping attraction evolving, and there's a good synergistic, like recycling that happens, because we don't tend to grow bored with each other, I want to say, because the amount of friction that is there, it tends to keep us engaged. So unless it is part of a larger complex of difficult things, they tend to be really, really good aspects in the context of romantic relationships. In friendships, in parent-child dynamics, in co-worker relationships, they can show up more problematic because we will have a more overt challenge to who's going to lead and who's going to follow, we're going to have to establish that in a different context. So that's where you read those is, probably, showing some things are going to have to be worked out. And it's not going to be through chasing each other around the room, which is generally a good thing in most romantic relationships. Okay, guys, I'm only going to be on like 5 more minutes because I am not being very sharp today. I'm not speaking very well either. A bit tongue-tied. And my throat is very raw today because I have been struggling with the sore throat. Charlotte, you're experiencing transiting Pluto opposite natal Lilith. Not conjunct the ascendant. You know what that means, right? A conjunct Jupiter. Okay. What's the work here? What is the best outcome of this transit? Well, there's something related to ideology and worldview, and that being the source of the difficulty or the conflict that you'll have to stand up for. That's what the Lilithy difficulties are tied to, is Jupiter's stuff. So you may be experiencing some consequences or disempowerment as a result of what's going on socially or ideology, worldview, opinions about fairness, law and order, stuff like that. Oh, thank you, Daisy. Oh, Justin, you get my infirmity. Thank you, too. Fulio. You're so welcome. So let me see. Did I miss anybody at the top? I'm just being stupid, guys. If I missed somebody today, it's not intentional. I'm not feeling particularly sharp. I think I need to take a nap. Imogene, how about a natal chart with a grand cross between Sun, Mars, Uranus, and Saturn? Exactly, all in fixed signs. Oh my God. She seems greatly frustrated by everyone. Yeah, I'll bet. Holy moly. Sun, Mars, Uranus, and Saturn in a grand cross, all in fixed signs. So there's oppositions that are woven into that. And so that's that idea that I am being opposed directly by others. They're the source. They're the first source of the issues. And I have to respond and react to all those issues. I have to be this way because look at what they're doing to me. Those are those ideas. And then we also have the energy of the square, so we also feel like we're blocked by circumstances and conditions in addition to enemies directly opposing us. That's why grand crosses are so tricky, because we have to deal with not just belief that the world or circumstances and conditions are keeping us down, but enemies, others, the anima, the animus. I mean, just having one is difficult enough, but having it involved in a grand cross, it's like a wheel that is stuck, and we want to get it to turn all in the same direction when we have a grand cross, because it wants to, the energy like wants to impose itself or collapse in on itself, and so it stays fixed, especially in fixed signs. And so we have to solve each part of it, like individually. And they're interesting because it's like you have to figure out where to put the oil. Because it will start turning like a well-oiled machine when we figure out the stress or how we're directly working against ourselves. And then we're able to put enough energy into getting it moving in the right direction. We want to put a lot of our energy into getting rid of others or finding better or more favorable conditions or circumstances. And so we have this misapplication of enormous amounts of energy with a Grand Cross. And I have one. I know. Guilty. So it's more difficult than a T-square. Because with a T-square, I'm going to put that. That's like a, I don't know, like a flat tire. But with a Grand Cross, it's like a square tire. Yeah, my explanations are not very clear today. Think of the energy. Well, just think of the energy that it's going to take off and fill a flat tire as opposed to reinvent the wheel. So I think that we have to realize that I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I got to get with the program. So there's a lot of reconciliation that has to happen with ourselves and will directly show up as reconciliation and cooperation and movement with others when we finally figure out a Grand Cross. Because it's not in the elimination of others, it's not in the relentless trying, relentless effort, because we can't get into relentless application of energy and effort. Because look at, let me get my, hold on. Get my square card here. Get my square card. Let me show you here. Semi-square, sesquiquadrate, and square. I am working on different images to show you the progression of how these things work. But look, how they all imply this incredible amount of effort. Squares and oppositions are where we need to understand that unless we are putting that effort and that energy into taking better responsibility or control for our own life, that energy is wasted. It's just like trying to move a brick wall. Because we're waiting either for circumstances and conditions to change, the world to change or others to change. And then that's when we'll finally take off. And we just have to realize that we're going to be the source of the success if we take it upon ourselves to do the hard work. If we're waiting for others to do all that hard work, they will actually be the source of our success. We'll probably blame them for that too. So, yeah, grand crosses are interesting. Daisy, can I share videos about natal chart house rulers and natal chart houses and aspects of house rulers or different planets in the natal chart? I have an extensive playlist on that. That is in my natal chart course playlist. I do have, I think, 30-minute video dedicated to every house ruler through the houses. And I do have an article that's out there if you search for it. I'll post it again on Facebook if you can't. Just if I remember, I'll try to remember. But that will be in my upcoming natal chart book. So hang tight. Natal chart house rulers and houses. That's something that will show you a derivative effect. You're talking about nuances. We had Michael asked a question earlier that is a similar thing. When we look at ways that things vibrate up the neck of the personality guitar, we're looking at rulership. We're looking at midpoints, Arabic parts, yeah, stuff like that. So if you are interested in more of that, I will keep you posted about when I'm going to start the natal chart course again, probably coming up in January, because I will have the course textbook ready by that time, and we will cover that. I may do that in a separate module as well. I think I'm going to break up my natal chart course. We'll do the baby beginner, which is why does astrology work, the planets, the signs and what they archetypally mean and stand for, understanding of the signs, understanding of the individual planets, and then getting into the planets and the signs, triplicities, quadruplicities, and polarities. So elements, modalities, and the yin and the yang of things. So I'll keep you guys updated. Alrighty, so let me see if I missed anybody. If I did, I'm sorry. It's just because I'm kind of dumb today. You ever have those days where you're just not as sharp as you're used to being? Imogene, that's a good point. The T-square has a point of outlet. The grand cross is like being surrounded. Very good, yes. And especially when we have a T-square, it can be a transit that'll like make it pop off like a spout. Well, that's harder with a grand cross. What else have I got? All right, guys, I am going to sign up for the day. I don't have as much going on this week. I am trying to come up from air when it comes to writing this book and getting it edited and formatted, because I have become completely obsessed to the point that my house like fell apart and became disgusting. When I finally swept it, I was so embarrassed about the amount of dog and cat hair. And I was like, I cannot quintile myself into living into living in a hovel. Where's my quintile card? I made it like that for a reason. Where is that bitch? This has been me. Yeah, we don't talk about quintiles a lot, but oh my God, the kind of relentless focus that can come in. I do have one on my chart. The kind of relentless focus that can come in, it can definitely pay off, but it can cause us to not notice that stuff is kind of falling apart around us. So, yeah, my sink full of dishes and my incredibly hair-filled house. It is no more, because I had to spend an entire day digging out. And at the end of the day, I was so sore, and I was like thinking, I have learned my lesson. I will never quintile again. It's too embarrassing. I can't have company over. I mean, even my parents. It's like, I can't let them in. I can't let them in. There's too many dishes. So, similar to, where is it? The sesquiquadrate. Similar outcomes, quintile and sesquiquadrate, because it's our inability to look up and notice the moving parts that has us in a position where with the sesquiquadrate, we can be swallowed up by those moving parts or be a victim of those moving parts. And with the quintile, it's like the relentless focus like causes the moving parts like to, how do I want to put it, like to disintegrate or die off or abandon us in some way. So I was noticing that my girls, my three dogs, they were starting to act really needy. And I was like really stupid about it for a couple of days, like, why are they being so needy? And then I realized, well, it's because I'm not focusing on them like they're used to. They're not getting the type and quality of attention that they really deserve. And with a hard aspect like that you get wrapped up in, you have to choose to take one step back so you can then take two steps forward. Because if you don't choose to do that, if you do not focus your willpower on making that decision, I'm going to take one step back, then we end up being forced to take two steps back. And then we'll take one step forward. So, anyway, that's what I got. Okay, guys,
I will check you out later this week. You guys have a great day.